This is a Learning with Lattes production by Mainline Information Systems.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our afternoon of AI and cloud. Thank you for being here. My name is Marie Ashway. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Mainline and happy to host this with my partner in crime, Christina Perez. And then Ron Gordon is here as well as Steve Sibley, and we will get this party started. I'm going to turn this over to Ron Gordon. So Ron, it's all yours.
Thanks, Marie. And I don't want to keep Steve off the dais here because he's got most of the information that you're hopefully anxious to hear about. We somewhat regret that we had to postpone the face-to-face meeting in Austin, where we were going to cover the subjects at a much deeper level, which we can do in a 24-hour period. But rather than totally take information to you out of the capabilities, we thought we'd put Steve Sibley on and go over basically the first presentation that we were going to use in Austin, where Steve would be covering the IBM portfolio in the AI world and also the cloud offerings that you all may not be aware of, but also what is the IBM strategy in these moving forward so that you can plan appropriately for your AI and cloud and hybrid cloud strategies. So we are attempting to consider scheduling the Austin meeting back to June 24th. But again, that's all going to be predicated on the status of the virus and travel and et cetera, and personal safety, et cetera. So with that quick preamble, I'd like to introduce Steve Sibley. Many of you have probably seen Steve in many of the IBM briefings or one-on-one meetings. Great guy. Steve's the Vice President of Power Systems Offerings Management, and he's here today to share with you the IBM strategy and direction, but also to be able to answer any of your questions that you come up with. So with that, let me just turn it over to Steve.
Thanks, Ron, and thanks, Marie, and thank everyone for joining in this most interesting of times that we're in the midst of. It certainly is an interesting set of challenges, and we're trying to learn whole new ways to do things, from webinars like this to how do we do a better job of creating and demonstrating our offerings digitally, right? We're obviously, I have, as Ron mentioned, kind of worldwide responsibility for power systems, so we're dealing with some different challenges in different geos, but for the most part, our operational or execution capability remains, other than I'm sequestered here at home in Austin, Texas, like many of you may be in your locales as well, right? So, but as far as supply chain, as far as our ability to service and support our customers, those remain. And certainly within Power Systems, we continue to have a focus of how do we enable people digitally, right, in different areas. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. But I am going to spend time, as Ron mentioned, focused more on IBM's overall strategy as it applies to what we're doing with cloud, what we're doing obviously with AI and the emergence of that as a key workload, and with Red Hat, right? As obviously OpenShift and Red Hat and Ansible are key parts of our future direction now. We'll certainly be focused on those and show you how it's helping transform what we're doing within Power Systems as well as IBM as a whole. I do encourage you, as Marie mentioned, if you have a question as I go through this, I'd much prefer you to highlight that. They'll ping me and I'll stop and we'll open it up and have a discussion so that you can understand what your key issue is in this time and as I go through this, versus just kind of a PowerPoint show, so to speak. But with that, and without further kind of ado, let me dive into, kind of the IBM strategy and direction. Right? Last year, we kind of kicked off a view as we began to talk to customers like yourselves, as we began to understand what was happening to the market, something that we started to refer to as Chapter 2 around cloud. And what it really focused on was a better understanding of clients beginning to look at both their mission critical workloads as well as how they can take advantage of AI and expand those into those core business kind of applications. And how are they moving those or leveraging cloud for those? And you'll see as I talk into this a little bit more, when we talk cloud, we really talk more about a process versus just a place, because many of you may have clouds already, right, on premises, as well as leveraging, software as a service or other public cloud kind of capabilities within your environment. But I'm hearing more and more, and I get the opportunity to talk up to, hundreds of clients a year, and hearing them really try to understand. I've moved a lot of my, smaller applications, my client-facing mobile applications into the cloud, and have cloud processes around those. What am I doing with my other key applications, and how can I take advantage of the same agility and capabilities of cloud, along with the same way I do kind of with my other applications? So as you look at that view of things, right, and where people have been, right, this really is that indication of how people have moved some of those applications from traditional IT either to a private cloud or to virtual clouds or hosted environments within their overall strategies. And in fact, most companies are driving multiple clouds. Right, I was with a large briefing up in Rochester, Minnesota, about 6 months ago or so, I guess it was in the fall of last year. I asked them how many of them were in, 5 or more clouds, and only a couple of them raised their hands. I then challenged them to actually write down how many clouds they have within their enterprise, and it turned out that 65% of them, about 2/3, were actually in 5 or more clouds with some sort of cloud service kind of environment. So we really are in a world that is multi-cloud from an overall environment standpoint. But as I mentioned, right, that's been the smaller workloads. What's been characterized by a number of analysts is about 20% of their enterprise workloads that have moved into that kind of cloud mode. But now there's this big push where more and more CIOs, more and more IT leaders are looking at how do they cloudify or turn their traditional IT infrastructures into a more cloud-like operating environment. And there's obviously lots of ways to do that, right? There's, the refactoring side of things. There's, shifting or moving applications completely, or there is just changing how you do things on-prem and turn it into a private cloud, and then extend that capability into hybrid cloud kind of capability as well. And so we know that, as people look at taking this enterprise-driven innovation that's occurring around mission-critical workloads and around AI, that, most companies, 3/4 of companies will use 3 or more clouds, but 90+% of clients are going to keep a on-premises infrastructure, on-premises cloud in their environment. And in addition to that, 80% of organizations actually move workloads back from a public cloud to on-prem. And it's not that public clouds aren't seeing the value there. It's that as they transform on-prem, they see efficiencies, how to do things differently, and then they begin to optimize and deliver, a total hybrid cloud experience to their organization that just makes more sense than potentially moving everything to a public cloud or keeping everything on-prem. It really is about thinking through your workloads, thinking through your use cases, and understanding what makes sense in the public cloud and what makes sense on-prem, and then optimizing that infrastructure to take advantage of both. So as you think through our strategy, right, and this is IBM as well as our power systems or cognitive systems viewpoint, right, it really is about how do we enable you to do things differently where you want and how you want within your environments. We are obviously teaming across numerous clouds within IBM and within Power Systems to transform your on-premises infrastructure, obviously enabling the IBM cloud and the vast amount of services, which I'll take you through in a few minutes within that environment, but then also with third-party partner clouds, whether that's our Power Systems capability or whether that's our cloud Paks and Red Hat capability, right? We really do see this as a multi-cloud world and giving you the opportunity to take advantage of those environments that make the most sense for you. And then how you want is really about the orchestration and management side of things, where we see obviously the biggest new push around Kubernetes and OpenShift with Red Hat, but also continuing to team with VMware in their environment as well, to ensure that Power can be a first-class citizen in whatever kind of infrastructure you may have within your environment. So as you look at that overall story, it really is about an infrastructure that matters on this journey to cloud, right? Being sure that you are transforming your on-premises infrastructure to be more cloud-like, with provisioning, with management simplicity within those environments, being able to take advantage of public clouds, right? Whether that's IBM Cloud or one of our partner cloud kind of environments, beginning to look at how you take advantage of the modernization of new applications through cloud native Kubernetes and microservice kind of capabilities, and then being able to manage it all together in a simple way where you really can understand how to optimize your workload in the right place on the right infrastructure that you may be deploying around. And that really is our focus and our strategy, is to help you, teaming with obviously Mainline as your key partner, to understand what is your journey to the cloud and how can we best help you optimize your infrastructure to take advantage of those capabilities. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on kind of each of these kind of capabilities as we get into this. Obviously, the IBM Cloud Platform is a great place for a secure, resilient, and an innovative set of services and capabilities built on top of it to be able to host your environments or your key workloads that you're driving. We truly focus on being an enterprise-grade environment for customers, ensuring that your data is secure, ensuring that you have the ownership of that data, right, as a key part of this new cloud world, and built on a software definable infrastructure to optimize and give you the best overall costs. So whether you're migrating applications into the cloud in kind of a lift and shift view, whether you're modernizing those applications by beginning to add new microservices, or innovating into the cloud by being able to add AI kind of capabilities to your environment, the IBM Cloud provides a broad set of capabilities infrastructure-wise, as well as set of services from an application management perspective and environment. And that really is, one of the hallmarks of the breadth of our capability within IBM. We have 60 data centers worldwide in 19 countries that have cloud capability, right? We have, what we call IBM Cloud Garages, where we engage with clients on, their projects and understanding how we can help them begin to migrate and deploy their infrastructures in new ways around cloud or a hybrid cloud kind of environment. Clearly, our partnership with both VMware, from ability to move your VMware-based workloads, whether they're Windows or Linux, and obviously now Red Hat and the ownership we have of them and teaming with them to optimize around particularly OpenShift and what we have with IBM Cloud Paks, gives us a great set of solutions and capabilities and architectures to deliver you a cloud infrastructure that truly is best of breed from an industry capability standpoint in the environment. As I mentioned earlier, right, we have a lot of different compute capabilities. Obviously, some infrastructure as a service capability if you want to be able to stand up your own environment and manage your servers just virtually within your environment. Virtual servers on the Intel side, leveraging VMware, as well as KVM kind of environments from a virtual server kind of standpoint. Obviously, as I mentioned, we have recently deployed Power Systems into our clouds as well, right, to run either your AIX, IBMI, or Linux applications. And then clearly, obviously, GPU for AI type of applications, SAP for obviously, that very key partner of IBM's, right, and other server software solutions. So, a really broad array of capabilities that are very integrated in their approach so that you can clearly be able to connect from one of these kind of environments to the other and get the advantages of the services where they run most efficiently and most effectively for your business overall. And I'm not obviously going to go through this chart, but you'll have it in the deck. right? But the full stack of services that we have within the IBM cloud and the capabilities that we deliver those is vast and addresses most everyone needs in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, one of the areas that has gotten the most interest and where we have certainly led the industry in a lot of ways is around Watson and the multitude of different capabilities we have from machine learning as well as a deep learning capability in our Watson cloud services portfolio, as well as data and analytics side, where IBM has always been a leader in being able to help clients manage their data more effectively and efficiently and deliver value out of that data and analytics kind of environment. So that's kind of a brief snapshot of the broad capabilities we have around our cloud and what we continue to build on from that perspective. But clearly the biggest new initiative we have and where we are focusing within and across IBM, a large portion of our energy is how we can best take advantage of our acquisition of Red Hat. Red Hat has three main capabilities that we're taking advantage of. One is obviously the traditional just Linux and RHEL kind of capabilities or Linux on KVM kind of capabilities. The ability to run enterprise class workloads on a open source based but enterprise class supported operating environment. The second is actually depicted on this chart, and obviously, the push around Kubernetes and microservices or Linux containers and microservices managed by the leading OpenShift platform in the industry from Red Hat. And then we're building, obviously, on top of that, from an IBM standpoint, all of our middleware and applications to run in something we call Cloud Paks and be deployed on top of OpenShift across a vast variety of infrastructure that our clients may be leveraging, either from a public cloud standpoint across IBM, Amazon, Azure, and Google, or just as importantly on your infrastructures on-prem, whether that's on our System Z mainframe, our Power Systems, or an Intel-based environment. This chart really captures a core focus around IBM and Red Hat's joint strategy around hybrid multi-cloud platforms and the ability to transform applications in new ways. We are going to continue to focus on Red Hat being open, driving a ecosystem of openness in their environment. They will continue to stay independent and leveraging our multiple partners and the open source community overall as they drive or continue to drive the strategy they've been on to lead the industry through open innovation, through this new movement towards Linux containers from an application standpoint. IBM, on the other hand, will add value on top of that by taking our certified offerings, building enterprise capability around those, bringing essentially all of our middleware into that environment, from DB2 to WebSphere to our security portfolio, our automation and management portfolio with MQ and those environments, all into microservice type of environments to be able to deploy simply and easily on top of an OpenShift based platform. In addition, we're working on an ecosystem that you see on the right with ISVs that are also building their own Cloud Paks to run on OpenShift, really beginning to set a standard around what an enterprise class Linux container environment might actually look like. So that strategy and direction is really coming to fruition, right? We've been in development now since the acquisition over the last few months. More and more capabilities coming together as far as bringing all those applications, which obviously is a huge task to bring all those applications into containers, to apply them to the new OpenShift platform that Red Hat's working on with OpenShift 4.3, and then to obviously put it on all of these different platforms. So a tremendous amount of investment and work going into making this picture a reality over the next year or so, where you'll see more and more of these environments become available from an overall standpoint.
Hey, Steve.
So with that,
So Steve,
yes, please.
Let me interrupt you. It's Murray. Hi. So I'm going to interrupt and throw a question in here. Since I know that we have one of our customers on who is an IBM customer. Could you kind of explain how IBM AI might fit into all of this? Because it seems like there's a lot of talk about Linux, a lot of talk about x86 and things of that nature. And it might be helpful if you can expand maybe on how IBM AI might fit into this situation.
Yeah, great question, right? And we continue to invest in IBM AI and the innovation around IBM AI, which has been our focus over the last, certainly 5 to 6 years, if not longer. Our IBM AI strategy is built on continuing to invest in the operating system itself. You've seen that recently with a major new announcement with DB2 Mirror, right, which we introduced last year and with 7.4. Adding new language capability to IBM AI with open source, with things like Node.js, Python, R, right? Those type of languages integrated firmly within IBM AI to be able to leverage those open source kind of languages and the skills that are available in the industry, but integrated closely with the IBM AI operating environment for those applications. And then obviously, building out linkage and API connections to other applications and environments, whether they're on-prem in a Linux partition or what may be a Linux container in the future, running on your Power Platform next to your IBM AI, or connecting into the Watson Cloud services that I mentioned earlier, where we have a lot of customers taking their IBM AI capability and their data, connecting into a Watson service in the cloud to give them AI kind of capability, whether that's in chat rooms and customer service kind of applications, or even as I'll talk about in a little bit around AI, working with some of our AI partners to build capability for training in a Linux on Power environment, and then exporting that from a execution or inference standpoint directly on the IBM AI environment for things like banking institutions that are doing, credit products, credit offerings for their customers, right? So IBM AI is a core platform. We probably won't containerize it like Linux, right, from that standpoint, but we're building around that and adding the right connectivity to it so that you can take advantage of your core business applications that are running on AI and seamlessly connect into this environment as well. Does that answer the question?
I think that that does. Thank you.
Okay, sure. So this chart just kind of reiterates some of the advantages and directions around how moving to containers for the IBM middleware makes sense in leveraging Red Hat and that kind of deployment, and the ability to then expand that across public or private clouds and make it seamlessly available. And clearly within IBM AI, right, we're making IBM AI available in our IBM cloud as well, right? As well as we have a lot of partner clouds that host IBM AI in a either hybrid cloud or a hosted kind of environment. Right? So when I talk about enterprise cloud, I won't spend a lot of time on this chart, but it'll give you just a snapshot of the things we're building into Cloud Paks. When we say an IBM certified production ready container or production ready environment, these are the kind of things we're testing out to ensure that it runs anywhere, that it has vulnerability scanning capability for security, that you really do have a complete overall container-based platform and solution available across multiple clouds, right? And the right resiliency and license metering capability to be able to drive both a compliance viewpoint as well as a resilient and available infrastructure. And so that's when we say Cloud Paks, when we say we're certifying and working with ISV partners, this is kind of the checklist that we're working through that you can count on when you get a Cloud Pak, that it has these capabilities built into those type of environments. And to that point, we are actually working on Cloud Pak kind of capability with our Power System software, right, where we may migrate many of our capabilities like Power VC and Power SC into a microservice kind of architecture and direction, which we could package into a Cloud Pak and deliver you a full power management infrastructure solution for your systems, both on-prem or in the cloud. So I'm going to shift a little bit to AI then, right? And the direction that we're continuing to head in this very interesting area around AI and cognitive computing overall. And it ties very closely to what we're doing around Cloud Paks as well, because obviously our Cloud Pak for data will be the foundation for many customers who are leveraging that data for AI type of solutions. We packaged and extended beyond just the cloud for Watson applications with Watson Studio, Watson Machine Learning, and Watson OpenScale that you can actually manage on-prem, right, to be able to do your AI machine learning type of work on your own premises if you don't want to move your data or leverage the capabilities in the Watson platform from a cloud standpoint. So the Cloud Pak for data, which will include all of these kind of capabilities, right, that will give you that kind of flexibility to begin to develop out and build a more prescriptive approach to your journey to AI, both from a how do I manage my data perspective, as well as how do I integrate different types of solution capabilities or application kind of capabilities from an AI perspective as well. And it really is a key approach to, AI is understanding this whole area of data, right? AI is, got a huge amount of potential for customers, but probably the biggest key is for clients to really begin to understand what their use case is and obviously how they're bringing their data together in a way that not only can they produce the results they're looking for from an AI standpoint, but then they can repeatedly train, repeatedly unlock that value of that data as new information comes together, either through your transactions with your customers or from peripheral data that may be external to your own organization but integrated into your AI models that you are building. And so understanding how you're collecting that, how you're going to organize that data, what is the AI, the machine learning, deep learning kind of capability you're building in to analyze, and then how do you build that into your operational model and business to be more effective within your environment? We've built out within Power, right, a pretty broad, approach to AI, but really zeroing in more and more into some key solution areas, specifically from a power infrastructure standpoint. We have a great set of, servers targeted specifically for AI. Our AC922 is the foundation for the biggest supercomputers in the world, which you're hearing if you're watching the news much, are being used today by Oak Ridge National Labs as they do research on how to address the coronavirus challenges that we're dealing with. But that's the foundation for many customers. In fact, we have over 700 customers who are building out their machine learning or deep learning solutions for training on AC922s. And we're focused on certainly visual inspection, but also machine learning capabilities for things like fraud detection, or as I mentioned, credit scoring applications. You mentioned IBM AI. We have as I mentioned earlier, we have an IBM AI client actually in Europe who's leveraging H2O, which is a machine learning application to do training around credit scoring. They've seen a 50% increase in the acceptance of their targeted portfolios as they built out and leveraged our AC922 for training and IBM AI for the execution of the inference around their credit scoring solutions and workloads. So a tremendous success story of how to use machine learning in their case for financial instruments and products for their customers. And it really is an approach across not only how you manage and understand the data, what are you training or how are you training and how are you continuing to retrain those models, right? Just to make sure they're current, to ensure they're, factoring in any biases and those environments. And then obviously on the inference side, as you deploy and manage the lifecycle capability of your applications and environments. So with that, I'm going to bridge over to a slightly different category and one that, many customers I talk to don't always understand that, Red Hat made an acquisition a while ago around Ansible, right? And Ansible is an open source environment, right? Or package, right? That like all of Red Hat's offerings, they take and build upon to add enterprise class value on top of that environment. So Red Hat has adopted Ansible as a core future management platform for automation to ease the approach of what you're doing within your environment. So what Ansible is it's an agentless function, right, that enables you to build tasks, right, to manage your VMs or your microservice, Linux container and endpoints very simply and easily within your environment or into the cloud. So you build out these different modules that will be, posted up, or many of them from an open source standpoint, into the Ansible Hub environment, that you can then just, build out your tasks, your playbooks of activities that you want to execute within your environment. So things like patching your vast number of servers that you may have, or even your few servers that you may have, or deploying and orchestrating updates to your environments. And then they have what they call Ansible Tower, or what Red Hat calls Ansible Tower, which gives you the ability to really, in a very graphical way, analyze and understand both the execution of those different tasks and playbooks, as well as the health and monitoring of those tasks as well. So it truly is a very powerful tool because of its agentless functionality to very easily manage these different endpoints and to begin to build these different playbooks and tasks to automate your own environment and infrastructure that you may have. So within IBM overall, we are fully adopting Ansible automation as a key part of where we're going from a management standpoint, right? Ansible automation platform, which is building more and more analytics and analysis into their environments from a tower standpoint, but being able to leverage from an endpoint perspective and manage your IBM I environment, your AIX environment, your Linux on Power, your ZOS environment, all through the same set of capabilities conceptually, right? Obviously, the modules will maybe slightly different for each of those different environments, but from a capability, from a skills in your organization perspective, Ansible is going to be a tremendously powerful solution to be able to manage your entire enterprise infrastructure in a simple way. We really see it as this common approach to management, delivering a tremendous amount of enterprise automation to you and your data centers, and particularly in this time of remote management capabilities, this is becoming even more important, and enabling a common, readily available set of skills to drive execution to that. I've been out, over the last few months as we've kicked off this project within, Power Systems, talking to clients about this capability. And it turns out, I would say about 40% of clients have at least started playing with Ansible conceptually within their environment, either in Intel or actually in many cases even on Power, since it is an open source solution and you can get Power-based modules today. But we're in the process within IBM where we're going to build out a certified set of workloads that we will upload into the Ansible Hub. It will be managed by Red Hat's service and support capability that they're building out around Ansible Tower and the Ansible automation platform. And it will manage your IBM I environments, your AIX environments, and our ZOS team is working on the same set of capabilities. We'll deploy those first set of modules in the second quarter and continue to build those out throughout the next year or two, right, as we add more and more functionality and capability leveraging this very, very powerful tool. So I really encourage you and your teams to look at how you might be more efficient and more active in being able to leverage Ansible as a key management solution for your infrastructure. So I'm going to wrap up, really coming back to a little bit around Power, and then open it up for hopefully some good discussion on things that I've either triggered or other questions you have that I may not have covered, but I may be able to address from an answer standpoint. But we clearly are trying to build and deliver a better on-premises private cloud infrastructure for you from a Power system standpoint, talking about my specific responsibility in business. We will have OpenShift 4 on the platform in the second quarter, along with a number of the Cloud Pak capabilities that we'll be deploying. It's taken a little longer than we first anticipated, but as I mentioned, we're doing a lot of work across all of IBM's applications to bring those Cloud Paks together on top of OpenShift. We're going to fully embrace Ansible from an automation standpoint and enable you to team those kind of capabilities with things like our Power VC Cloud Manager, our VM Recovery Manager, and Power SC for security and compliance. And we're going to continue to deliver you more flexible capacity on your Power-based systems on premises. So essentially, you can treat your on-premises infrastructure just like a cloud, with elastic capacity, capacity monitoring, flexible capacity to actually expand out that capacity into the public cloud, right? With some flexible offerings that we have within that environment. So really trying to give you this holistic view of I can run a cloud on-prem, I can extend that into a public cloud, and I can optimize my infrastructure with the same set of skills, the same set of automation across my entire enterprise IT set of data centers. So with that, let me stop. I've talked a lot, but hopefully there's some questions. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to do with what I've talked about. Hopefully I can answer some of the other things that you may have as well. So let me open it up. Marie, I'll let you take it over from here.
Great. Thank you, Steve. We appreciate that. It is time for questions. So if you have a question or want to say something, hit me with a quick chat and let me know that, either with your question or that you want to have me open your mic because you're tired of sitting there and you feel like you're feeling compelled to talk, which we certainly would understand. All right. So let's see. We have our first question here. Which is there a simple way to just get started, perhaps with a POC?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the first things I normally get from people, particularly when I cover the AI kind of capabilities, right, is lots of different options, right? From your ability to take advantage of the different open source frameworks for whether it's TensorFlow or Cafe or some of those, all of the different services from a Watson standpoint that you can get started, and it's really important to understand that you don't have to try to tackle all of that. In fact, we encourage you not to try to tackle all of that, but to get started with a simple use case that you can turn into a proof of concept so that you can get very rapid success around, right? So it might be a, client services application or a chatbot. It may be a fraud detection kind of solution, from a credit standpoint within your environment. And Mainline, we team with Mainline a lot on workshops. We have these IBM garages or other discovery workshops that we could sit down with, hopefully a cross-functional team from your organization to really define out what's the use case, what's the data source, what's the simplest way to get started and see some rapid success. So encourage you not to think of AI as this global project that's going to take months and to deploy, and you need to do all of this learning, but really to tackle it in more bite-sized chunks, agile type of approach with a quick POC where you can see quick results.
Great, thanks. Yeah, because I didn't, Ron and I were talking earlier, and we didn't want people to walk away thinking that it was horribly complex. So we figured there's probably a easy way to get started, and that's why I posed that to you. So thanks for doing that. The other thing that I was also wondering, Steve, is we hear a lot about AI capabilities on AWS as an example, or Azure. Why wouldn't a customer start there?
Yeah, no, a good question, right? There's lots of different potential solutions out there. Everyone's talking about AI, right? And certainly, Google with their focus on TensorFlow, AWS with their, approach, and Azure as well, certainly have their AI solutions and capabilities, right? Certainly Watson has one of the broadest portfolio of offerings, from natural language to sentiment analysis in the cloud to understanding more details around actual feelings or responses from customers, even within text kind of capabilities. So a growing arrangement of different capabilities. And, a lot of clients want to just start and they don't want to get into the entire challenge of how do I move my data? How do I keep my data refreshed? Because it can be easy to start a POC out in the cloud. And in fact, I was talking to Gartner in November timeframe, right, at one of their conferences. And, they said one of the big challenges is people get started out in the cloud, but they haven't really thought through the whole approach. And so they don't really know how to continue to manage that AI data ladder that I mentioned earlier, right? And so in some cases, it's cheaper and easier to get started with a system on-prem using things like H2O that I described before. The customer I mentioned in Europe, there's another one actually in South America who's done, particularly in the banking environment around this H2O application. It's a very simple to use application, Obviously, our AC 922s are in the context of AI costs are not that expensive, right? And so it may be easier and faster just to get started on-prem with a POC, or obviously connecting up into Watson, similar to what you could do with AWS. But obviously, Watson has some of the best capabilities.
Yep. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate that. And we have another question here. Didn't IBM just announce an inference power systems model?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that really approach. I might try to page back up. I can do this as I talk. As we think through this whole area of AI strategy and our focus, our AC 922 has clearly been differentiated in the training area and driving this ability to train models 5 to 6 times faster than an Intel-based system. But we just announced what we call an IC 922, right? Which is really targeted at both the left and right side of this. It does a really good job of managing and feeding data. Our leadership capability in data and I/O throughput makes it a great ingest platform and ability to feed data into a training system. And then on the inference side, we support, or will support 6 today, up to 8 in the future. T4, which is kind of the leading GPU for inference, right? And inference, if you're not really familiar with kind of the AI terminology, you can think of it as just kind of analytical scoring kind of capability, right? But it really does do a great job of that kind of environment. And so the AC 922 gives us this full set of very optimized platforms to feed across this entire picture from an AI deployment perspective. And you can even use that IC 922 for simple training as well, right? The GPU is not quite as powerful as the one in the AC 922, but if you have smaller machine learning type of workloads, you could certainly use it for those kind of environments as well.
Great. Hopefully that answers that question. And if not, come back at me again with that. So, and the other thing that I wonder if, I don't know if you, Steve, or maybe a combination of you and Ron on this, but what would a customer do if they wanted to get started? I mean, does Mainline or IBM have skills or have some kind of workshops or something to help a customer get started in this area?
Yeah, so I know Mainline's been building up their analytical skills and abilities to help clients in this area, right? I'll let Ron speak a little bit more to that, but clearly we have our lab services team within the systems organization that has done numerous engagements around AI, and in fact, some of the examples I gave you earlier about IBM AI and being able to connect either through H2O or connect up to Watson. Our lab services team has helped those customers within their environments. And IBM in general has a pretty vast data science expertise, what we call our AI experts, that can do workshops with you as well. Ron, I don't know if you want to add anything more from Mainline's capabilities.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Mainline has been building up skills. And if I take these one at a time and address the AI area first, we've been building up skills in cloud packs for data, multi-cloud offerings, and not only the total IBM cloud pack offering, but also the individual products within them, be they the machine learning capabilities, the inferencing capabilities, et cetera. So I think Mainline can offer a couple of things in this area. One, absolutely working on the on-prem or in-cloud infrastructure knowledge of the servers that can provide you the most efficient and effective way to get some of these AI applications developed and built. But at the same time, a lot of skills in the data preparation. And those of you with IBM AI have a lot of data in your DB2 on-prem database, but this really has to be ETL'd into the format to be ingested into the model to support what you're trying to do. And we have a great many skills in the data preparation, and it's not just IBM AI, but it's also in the Oracle or HDF or Mongoose or whatever. But we may not have all the skills, for example, in how to do some machine learning or Watson Studio local. So then we partner with IBM. and bring them in. So we mainline have the ability to help you support your project in working with you, probably in the most efficient, meaning both performance-wise, but also cost-effective way. And if that means, hey, let's build a first prototype and put it in the cloud, we'd work with you and get that done. And talk about cost savings. Right now, IBM is offering 2 months or $2,000. I mean, it may be more than that, maybe $20,000 worth
20,000.
of use. Pardon me?
20,000, I think.
$20,000 for 2 months in the IBM cloud for no charge. So if you want to run something on an AC 922 or a S922 in the cloud, or if you want to use some of the IoT services or Watson services that Steve mentioned, that's available to you, and we can make that happen. So yeah, the combined skills of mainline, understanding your infrastructure and how to best utilize it, taking certain characteristics of AI into account, and then teaming with IBM and their SMEs with workshops. We're somewhat hampered a little bit right now because of certain lockdowns and being safe. But I think a great deal of this work could also be initiated through conference calls so that your projects that you're looking at do not stall and go nowhere until we solve the current virus issues. So contact us and we can put a plan together to support you as to how to keep your projects moving, even if it's to initialize a project. Does that sound right, Steve?
So Ron, I lost a little bit of that on my connection here, but one thing I want to encourage, right, is in this environment, right, we're actually, thinking, quickly and very differently about how we deliver our services and capabilities to clients, right? So I wouldn't, we're happy to work jointly with what is the best way to virtually have some of these workshops with you, with our lab services team and with mainline, right? And so, the teams are, many of them, depending on their location, are, somewhat sequestered. And so they're spending their time right now thinking, how do I deliver, my knowledge and capability in a virtual way? And so I encourage you not to think, oh, I've got to wait till this is all over before I get started on something. Let's jointly through mainline work through how can we work jointly together to build a virtual workshop to tackle some of these issues.
Yep.
Agree. Totally.
Okay. Thank you. And Ron and Steve, the question window is now quiet. So it's up to you where you want to go from here.
Well, this is Ron. If there's no more questions. Oh, go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to say a couple words, right? I think and tied to a little bit what I just said, right? While we clearly have some challenges in front of us, our focus within IBM right now is how do we help you through these challenges that you are maybe dealing with at this particular point in time within your organization, right? We have healthcare organizations who are seeing, spikes in demand in their EMR records as an example. And our flexible capacity that we have within Power is enabling them to respond to that very, very quickly and hopefully with zero interruptions, right? You may be seeing that obviously with the challenges in the financial services industry for those of you that are there or in, supply chain and retail side, right? So we're here to figure out how we help you manage better remotely, how we help you, address the needs of even this difficult time. And so, I just want to, open that opportunity to you that if you're seeing some of those challenges, don't think you have to tackle them alone. Work with mainline, work with IBM, and we'll see how we can build the best rapid solution for you to address the challenges that you may be under in this environment, or as you exit this environment to be more productive from a, what will likely be part of this will be a little bit of a new normal around the ability to, remotely manage, remotely execute what you need to from an IT infrastructure standpoint. So thanks again for your time from my standpoint. And then Ron, I'll let you finish what you were going to say to kind of wrap up.
No, that was great. And I thank you, Steve, for joining us today and being open. One of the things I wanted to say is that There will be a replay recording of this. And also we have the deck that Steve used that we can provide to you. So with that, again, I'd like to thank Steve to open up to us today about the strategy and the capabilities in AI and cloud and where it's going. We will continue to strive to have a face-to-face briefing in Austin, but again, that will be dependent upon the current coronavirus situation, and we will err on the side of safety for sure. As that does become a problem, we may go to a couple more in-depth webinars on some of the topics that we had scheduled. So we, Mainline, will keep in touch with you as time progresses. So thank you very much. And again, thank you, Steve and Marie.
For more information, give us a call, follow us on social, or visit us online at mainline.com.